Hey, how you guys doing out there? This is Chris, and welcome to the Spice.
Oh, ho, ho, ho. Sing it, Chris. Live. We are the Spice of Life.
Yes.
And welcome.
Thank you for joining us today. We got a lot to talk about.
Yes.
And going to get into the blood sugar and things like that. But Angela, what you got?
Yeah, so don't forget to like and subscribe. Please do that. And thank you guys for the follows. Thank you for the subscribers. And welcome to our new subscribers.
Yes, welcome to our humble abode.
We appreciate you guys tuning in to us. So we're in for a great show, another great show today.
Yeah.
So if you want to know about these glucose, these CGM, or these hacks to help you control your blood sugar, then please be my guest and listen further. So
let me ask you a question about that. So what usually should someone's sugar be? What should the numbers be?
Well, according to my my meter, and basically what happens with the glucose meter or the monitor, the graph normally it'll take all the data, but it's going to tailor it towards your body. Meaning for me, my level, it goes between, like, I would say anything between 60 and all the way up to 130. Now, some people, their range is a little bit lower, maybe to 120. But that's how it is. And the body, as time go by and the body adjusts and it gets used to, or let's say it becomes more efficient at using the glucose or the insulin, then those numbers will change. So but right now mine went up a little bit. It was at 120, but now it's at 130. I don't know what changed. You know what? I can tell you this. When I moved the monitor to my right arm, something happened with that particular what you call it, the CGM device that I'm using. I say CGM device because we're not getting paid to promote a particular CGM device or a company yet.
Right.
But basically, when I moved it to the right arm, something happened. I think that particular device wasn't working properly and my number changed. So I moved it back to the left side. So
you slide to the left.
Yes. So
Cha-cha one time.
They're sending me another one because that one was defective. So in that change, it changed mine.
So just to make sure I got it correct, it depends on your body size, height, bone density, activity, weight, and all those things.
Yes, and you'll get to see that on your chart. It's very easy to read. But basically,
now is that connected to your A1C?
It won't give you your A1C number, but I would say it is, because if you are managing your glucose better, your numbers will improve.
Okay.
All right. You keep getting the spikes and it goes way up and that sugar gets high. A1C. That affects A1C.
I was just thinking about this. Coming up later, this is connected. We always try to keep everything connected to health. So we think about this and see if you know the answer to the top 5 healthiest countries and the top 5 unhealthiest, I guess it would be, and maybe where we would fall. We live in the United States, so where we would fall, or where other countries would fall in the middle, I guess.
Well, one thing's for sure, I know we have to be on that chart somewhere.
You think we're in the top 5 or top low?
I think we somewhere up there. We're somewhere up there. I feel that we are.
We shall see. We shall see. In fact, I can probably.
But I could be wrong, because you never know. People with change attitudes. Healthcare is getting up there. It's getting high, and your life. People beginning to make life changes. Changes with their life or changes with their health to ensure that their bodies are carrying them a little bit further, and that they are healthier. And that that they are not spending a lot on, healthcare by being healthy.
So speaking of high, what is some of the things from your experience and from what you know, just having to monitor, or maybe even just what you know, what are some of the things that can really cause that sugar to go high? It really cause those spikes.
Well, one of the things is definitely sugar. It's definitely sweets, carbs,
Would kisses
carbs.
call? Like if I kissed you or anything, would that be
Not that kind of sugar.
okay? Just making sure, just asking.
Not that kind of sugar.
Okay.
Well, let's say that doesn't register on the meter.
Not at all.
No.
Not even a little.
No,
Okay, no
no,
spikes. Got
no
it.
spikes. So basically, white sugars. Now I can tell you if it's now in that when you're eating the white sugars, all right, that's different than eating a fruit. Now sometimes, and it depends on the person too. A sugar, when you're talking about a dessert that is high in glucose, that spike will go up quick, and then it'll stay there. On the graph.
There.
It'll stay there.
Right.
But if you're eating something that the body uses, let's say piece of fruit or whatever, that spike could be like that. It won't last as long. It'll just, you'll see it come up and then it'll come down, or it'll go down. But normally the other high carbs, sugars that are not good for you, let's just say that what the body don't use and it just store for fat, it's going to stay there up in the upper levels, which is not good. So those are some of the things that I notice because I do have a treat from now and then.
Some Scooby snacks.
White breads. Now I'm sure wheats. I just haven't had wheat bread yet. Also stress. I noticed that when I'm fasting and I haven't eaten anything, but if I have like a moment of anxiety or stress, I can see it on the chart, because, during stress, the body is trying to protect you. It's just trying to make sure that your body has what it needs to function, and whatever it does to, to prepare it for that. If you're under some stress, then it is going to turn something into glucose. That's energy, because it takes energy to be stressed. Or anxiety or whatever, whatever it needs for fuel, and whatever the quickest way to do that, it will do that. But yes, stress does. Also,
so it's good to have, in some cases, I guess, to have that high spike of sugar, because it gives you energy, let's say, to get things done, work, activities, sports, working out, things like that.
Yeah. Also, I notice when I'm exercising, when we're out walking, I see a spike.
So what is the damage of if you have let's say not a spike, but it's plateauing up there, and you constantly have high sugar? What is the things that it can damage, I guess, within the body? What's the side effects? What's the cause? Like there has to be things that's impacting if it stays at that high level, and I'm assuming.
Well, I would say that if it's spiking that way, like you mentioned before, the A1C, you're on the road to diabetes, so if you're thinking about that, and stored fat, and that's never good, having stored fat. But if it's spiking because of exercise or because of eating the right things, that's not nothing to be alarmed of, because it is efficiently using the glucose in the correct way. You're talking about the insulin, insulin that's one of the things insulin does. But if it stays there constantly, I am just, when I look at my chart, when I look at my glucose, I'm thinking of what I've been doing in the past. When you don't know, when you don't see it, you don't know, you're not gonna, it's not going to concern you, but it concerns me because I see it.
Right.
And I know I was like eating and snacking a lot. And my glucose, I know it probably was just like this constantly. And if it's like that every day with all the snacking, and I'm talking about snacking, not snacking in a healthy way. Now, if I snack the right way with proteins, with the right balance of proteins and fats and veggies, and just use the sugars or the starches or whatever in its proper way or eat it in a proper way, which I'll discuss later, then that's going to affect it's not going to affect the glucose in a negative way. I'm sorry. But there are ways to control it. There are ways that you can eat to manage it. So I can just tell you that I wasn't managing it well. In fact, the other day we went out to eat, and I wanted to see what it's going to do to my levels. I asked for Arnold Palmer.
The infamous.
And I didn't
Arnold
drink it all
Palmer.
because that thing was sweet. But when I tell you it spiked up there, it went way up. I mean,
Yeah.
it was crazy. It went way up there. And it wasn't that as though I ate a lot. I didn't. But that drink shot through had my glucose shooting through the roof. But I'm just thinking about day by day of people that drink those heavy sugary drinks and then follow behind it with cake and ice cream and all the other stuff. But it's like I can't imagine what the levels would be. But what it does is just makes it send the body into chaos. Just think about the insulin is just working overtime. And the diabetes is really the insulin is trying to manage all that. And if it overproduces the insulin, that's the problem, So yeah, I'm learning a lot of things, Chris. This has really been helpful to me, and it makes me see my foods and the things that I drink in a different way. I mean, he doesn't have one on, but he's affected too, because every time I eat or whatever, I discuss, oh, look at this, Chris. Look at what this did too.
When I move, you move, just like that.
Yes.
So, yeah, I get the impact. So let's get into the top 5 healthiest. So who do you think is the top 5? Or do you have any idea? And I can give you some hints.
I mean, the most healthiest? Are you talking
top
about?
5 healthiest countries.
I would say I'm going to mention
And this is according to Statista, which is based on people's health access to health services, health outcome, health system, illness, risk factors, mortality rate. 2022, our latest is this is from the Lithcom Institute Foundation. So this is a lot of information compiled to come up with this list.
I'm going to reach out. I don't know for sure, but I'm going to mention Japan.
It is number 2.
I was close.
Number 2. And so to help you, because you start off so good, to help you out, and this is for everybody, Asian countries are riddled in there.
Yeah, and you think about all that rice they're eating, you're like, okay, they got to be a certain kind of rice, or the way that they're preparing it, the kind of less than a spice, or maybe something that's going on there. See, things like that gets my brain churning. Like, how is it that they're able to, eat, like the base of their diet is rice, and they don't have a lot. I think a lot of it is
activity too. So if someone eats rice, first of all, how much they eat, that's number 1. And then they're not sedentary, which means that they do, like we're trying to do, they walk, they do activities, they do whatever industrial things. And again, they're probably not eating it by the bucket full.
Yeah, that's true. But it's almost at every meal, almost, I would say.
Perhaps I would, it's a staple there.
But yeah, I agree. So what else? What else we got?
Well, number 5, I didn't know if you wanted to name anymore, but number 2 was Japan, but I told you it was Asian country. So number 5 is China.
Okay.
Number 4, this is technical because of all the politics behind it, but number 4 is Taiwan.
Okay.
China would say, well, that's China too.
Yeah.
Number 3 is what's right under North Korea?
South Korea.
Number 3. And then number 1 is Singapore.
Wow, all Asian countries.
I told you it was really
so that is interesting.
Now the bottom 5 is, unfortunately, it seemed like they're mostly in the continent of Africa, around that area. The third or the fifth from the lowest is Somalia.
Okay.
And they seem like they're pretty busy. They was going out in the ocean and stopping. They put an end to that. It was slowed it down, I think, to a good healthy point because that was unfortunate circumstances
Pirates.
and all that stuff. Yeah, not with the patches or anything. And then a country which I know, Lesotho,
I've never heard of that.
Lesotho. That's and then but lower than that is Chad,
Okay.
and then second to the worst is South Sudan. And then the worst is the Central African Republic.
I'm interested to know what puts them that.
Well, remember I told you they based it on people's health, access to health services. So that's where
Okay.
you're probably going to get a lot of, I don't know if all these are third world countries, but some places don't always have access because of how the government structure is, or they could be in the middle of some civil war. All those things are factors during the time they did this. Health outcomes. So not only the health services, but like what's the living rate, living and health system. So even if you have access, how good is the system? How many the good doctors and nurses you have?
Okay. So I see.
And then risk factors, and then of course still kind of connected to the health outcome, mortality rate. How many people actually do pass away?
Right.
So it's not one factor. That's why we're in the United States, we're 69 out of 167 countries they looked at.
Wow.
So that's kind of in the middle, but it's closer to
kind of sort
And
of.
then like another, just for reference, if you're in the European area, United Kingdom is 34.
Okay.
They're doing a little bit better than over here. So those kind of give you an idea of how where you are does make a difference.
Okay. All right. So one of the things I did say that I was going to do, I was going to mention some of the glucose hacks or some of the things that you can do to lessen the glucose spike. So,
Okay.
Christopher, that was some great information that you gave.
Yeah.
I want to be part of the numbers of folks that's increasing their health, being healthy.
You know what I'll look
and
at
not
next
being
time?
in the
Maybe
bottom
next week
numbers.
we'll look at We'll look at states, probably some
Right.
top states. But anyway, what you got,
All
Angela?
right, so these are the glucose goddess hacks. So if y'all don't know glucose goddess, she is on social media. She has a couple books, but these are hacks for steady blood sugar and steady hormones. So eat your veggies first. It says protein and fats are second, starches and sugars are last. So that is the order of the way you eat if you want to lessen the glucose spike. Another thing is it says eat a savory breakfast, not a sweet one. So what that means is eat your breakfast should consist of all savory foods, eggs, avocados. She even mentioned like potatoes. So yeah,
So
I
thinking
consider
about-
potatoes was like even though they're savory, that's kind of like a starch or whatever. But
So thinking about sweet things that we could probably eat in breakfast and not think about it because we're on the run or something. So you're talking about like sweet muffins,
Yes.
donuts, sugary cereals.
Yeah.
Those are things that I'm not recently, but guilty of just eating on the run for breakfast and not thinking about, man, this is packed full of sugar.
Well, think about your staple or standard American breakfast. For adults, they want a donut and a coffee.
Time to make.
It's okay. I'm providing a breakfast for the for the office, or hey, I'm providing breakfast today. Donuts.
Donuts on me,
and
guys.
coffee, or a muffin and coffee, or something sweet and coffee. And like you mentioned,
Donuts on me, team.
too, sugary cereals,
Mm-hmm.
And milk. But yeah, savory breakfast, not a sweet one. Also says only have fruit or whole fruit, never juiced or dried. Because basically, if you change the what you call it, if something happens with the fruit once you started putting in the tubes,
Lose some of the nutrients and vitamins.
Yes, because you talk about that fiber that's in and that's holding that fruit together. That's why when you eat that fruit and it, you're digesting it, it digests slower in your body. So when you juice it or if it's dried or whatever, it changes that,
Also, all juices are not created equal. That's
Exactly.
another factor. Now you gotta look at fine print and say, oh, 10% juice.
And it says, eat sweets at the end of a meal instead of on their own as a snack. So what she means by that is after you've eaten in the order, what she did mention, first eat your veggies first, proteins and fat second, starches and sugars last. So think about, I think last week I mentioned, hey, when you're eating in that way, when you're at a restaurant and the waiter or waitress say, hey, who wants dessert? Normally you're gonna say, I know for
Me,
me, it's been like, I'm too full, either that, and that keeps it, even though you're not neglecting yourself from sweets,
right,
but you're having it in an order to where the body, even if you do have it, it is not, the blood sugar is not gonna spike as high as when you just have it first or just have it by itself.
right.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
All right. Another thing it says, to go for a 10-minute walk after lunch or dinner. You know, doesn't that sound familiar? Hey, let's go for an after dinner walk. Well,
Yeah,
let's
we
go
did
for
that the
this.
other day. We did that
Yeah.
Saturday.
And I can attest, guys, that does help because we actually did that yesterday. So, and I noticed, you know, it started climbing down and it stayed that way. We actually walked for almost an hour.
Yes,
Yeah, so
that
that
was
was
a good
good.
walk.
Also, it says before eating, drink a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar diluted in a glass of water. So I haven't tried that. I haven't tested that out, but I will. I do have my apple cider vinegar, so we're gonna try that and see if that helps. But before I forget, I do want to give a status of our weight loss too, because I do want to mention, I didn't say this at the beginning, but I'm like, we did very good, guys. We lost a total, I think last week I said it was 6 pounds. So now we're coming down again. We lost almost 8 pounds each.
Okay,
So I think
so
you
that's
was,
2 more pounds.
yeah, so you was like 7.8 or 7.9 and I was 7.8 or something. We were like an
Right.
ounce, one little ounce off, but we're doing good. But we have not restricted ourselves from any foods. Basically, we just been fasting, and I've been trying my best to ease, trying to watch my glucose levels.
Right. I think my biggest thing is making sure that when in between coming on and off fast is not eating like like that's my last meal.
Yeah.
So I have to be careful of that and continue to have a good balance because I want to still eat healthy. My biggest thing is losing weight, getting back to the weight for my size or my height, and then not neglecting saying, hey, if I want to try this particular food or fruit or whatever food, something that I'm not going to be like, oh, I got to torture myself and don't eat it. I don't want to live like that. So that's hard because sometimes it's not so much what I eat, it's eating too much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can be a little greedy too.
That's another way to put
I
it.
can be a little greedy, especially around certain times of the month. But hey, I'm gonna work that through in my life.
Yeah.
We'll have to see because these hacks are really good. I think they are manageable, but also too is important not to go too far off the beaten path of how you are as far as your routine and how you eat, what you eat, but also clean it up, a little bit. I know that we both could have stood to some work on how we eating, when we eat as well. That's important. Like I mentioned in the last segment, how eating and oh yeah, how eating certain things will spike the glucose
I
level
think and
after you sleep.
the lady you mentioned, she's you and I've heard this said by experts, by all kind of people. You really want to avoid eating way too late, which can be a habit.
Yeah.
Because now people say, what is late? I go to bed at 10, or I go to bed at 9, I go to bed at 8, I go to bed at 11. And all those, or when you start sunsetting and you're still eating, that's to me in the area around too late. Between, let's say, 12 and sunset, or anything after that, before before you go weight back up, because it doesn't always sit right on your body. Plus,
No, it doesn't.
you're not using it. Going back to what you said, you got an energy spike, blood spike, sugar spike, and the body's gonna be like, what am I supposed to? I guess I'll store it.
Yeah, yeah. It definitely was stored.
Right.
And you know, just like you mentioned, you have your goals and stuff as far as where you want to be as far as your weight. And I have that too. I go back and look at some of the videos that I've done, in the past, and how I was, successful at losing the weight. But also I can feel that this time is a little different. This time is different because I got the data to prove it. And once I look at the data and the willpower, once you look at that, and now I'm looking at food a little differently, and I'm like, okay, I need to put things together that's going to be more healthy for me. And also I'm looking at this in Christopher's perspective too, because we're both in the game together. We're married. We're trying to get to our goals, and we have to, help each other. We're helping each other out in this, because I'm telling you, when we're fasting, we're trying to stick to the fast.
I look at it for the reward. That's what I tell Angela. Reward. You do that, you're going to get where you want to be. You're going to be happy. You're going to be glad you got over that mountain, the success of it, the completion of it. Once in a while, you get the in-between rewards. And during the time with the rewards, you're losing weight.
Yeah, because I'm like, I be having a hard time, and he taught me away from, like, quitting sometimes. What I mean by quitting, I'm talking about the fast. Because sometimes it's like your mind gets the best of you. That's the thing. And it's not like it was one of the big long fasts. It was just a
baby fast. I'm like, huh?
He said,
what
you
are we
ready
talking
to call
about?
it already? I'm like, I'm just I think that when you have someone there with you that's helping,
believe in you, because I believe in her.
Yeah, he believed in me, and then I okay, I won't do it, because he's done that several times, and I appreciate.
So I say, and that's good. She mentioned that. Thank you for that. It's for you to know that you're gonna go through that. We all do. We go through those little walls, those little hills. Believe in yourself. Find someone that can be encouraging you, to keep you to stay focused, keep you going, to add spice to your day, to give you that energy.
Yes,
that's what Chris and Angela does.
Yes, that's what
guys. We enjoyed it. Had a beautiful day with you. We'll be back next week. But thank you for joining Chris
and
at the Spice Soul.